You're listening to A Deeper Dive, a part of the Winsight Podcast Network.
How is Duck Donuts evolving its concept? Hello, this is Jonathan Mays, Editor-in-Chief of Restaurant Business. And in this week's episode of A Deeper Dive, I speak with Betsy Hamm, the CEO of the 100-unit donut chain. We spoke at the Restaurant Leadership Conference recently to talk about all kinds of things. Duck Donuts is based in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, and is known for its made-to-order donuts. The company just released a new prototype of its restaurants for franchisees that's designed to be more flexible, to give those operators options as they expand in a time of rising costs and difficult real estate environment. It also includes options like kiosks and room for mobile order pickup and things like that, that is designed to deal with a new generation of customers. We also talk about a wide variety of other issues, including why the company is named Duck Donuts and what the other option might have been. It's an interesting conversation with a donut chain CEO, so please have a listen. Okay, I am here with Betsy Hamm. Betsy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so what's going on at Duck Donuts?
So there's a lot going on Duck Donuts. We are continuing to grow. We are opening about 40 shops this year. We just launched our new Shop of the Future. It's our shop that's reimagined. Have several different international locations open. And of course, we're just focused on continuing to grow AUVs for our franchisees.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask a little bit about the name Duck Donuts, because it's not named after a duck.
It is not. That? Yeah, there's a lot of rumors or misconceptions of where duck came from, but actually where it came from is Duck Donuts was founded in Duck, North Carolina, in the Outer Banks. That's hence how it got its name. So we actually opened our first 2 locations there in 2007 in Kitty Hawk, which I guess could have also been our name potentially, and then Duck.
Mm-hmm. And so how many locations are you at right now?
So we have 125 locations. We are in 22 states in the United States. We have 1 location in Canada, and then we're focused on international growth. So we have a location in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. We just opened in Cairo, Egypt this year. And then we have several other Middle East countries opening in the next few months.
Really? So you're jumping like head first into
international growth. Yes. Trying to focus primarily right now in the Middle East, but we are seeing interest literally around the globe.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about the prototype, because we just it's an interesting prototype that it's you're trying to make things a bit more efficient for operators and maybe a little bit more flexible. Tell us a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah, so trying to make it more efficient as well as trying to get the build out costs down. So with our store reimagined, the footprint's a little bit smaller. So currently our shops are around 1,400 square feet. Some are a little bit more, but now we're shrinking that down to about 1,200 square feet. What people love about Duck Donuts is when you come in, you get to watch the entire experience. So you order your donuts, they're not already made, and then you can see them being dropped in the fryer, and then you get to watch them being coated, topped, and drizzled just the way that you ordered them, and we hand you a warm box of donuts. So from a customer perspective, we want to ensure that customers who want to come in and have that entire experience are able to do so and what they're accustomed to. But then what we're also focused on is to make it more efficient. So in our shops that are opening up, we have kiosks. So if you don't want to wait in line, you already know what you want, and you didn't order online before you got there, you can come in and place your order at the kiosk, and we'll have a larger pickup area. We do a lot of catering and special events, so having that area built out in the back as well, again, will just make it a better customer experience as well as for our team members.
Mm-hmm. And why is it important to have that flexibility to lower the build out costs? Why was that?
Certainly from an expansion standpoint, and we've also been trying for some non-traditional locations. So actually, it was a little over a year ago in California, we opened up a container shop. So that's obviously much smaller, around 600 square feet, doesn't have the seating or anything like that, but we want to be able to have that flexibility from whether it's food trucks and trailers, which we do have out in the marketplace, to more of a kiosk, which we have not done yet, having that ability to be more flexible and to be where our customers are out in the market.
Mm-hmm. So is it a container shop?
A container shop, yeah.
So
it's a container.
Really?
Yes, that's a very non-traditional. We only have one of those.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're able to still do the whole donut making process?
Yes. Yep. Still able to do that. As long as we can vent or have an insider unit that they can be able to take care of that piece of it, then we're good to go.
Mm-hmm.
And the so you're talking about kiosks though. Now, would you be able to do it at something like that or not?
So we can say like in a mall where it's an enclosed location, but it just changes the captive air system for the fryer. So we have to be able to have the vent that works. And so there is one option where it's all self-contained. We don't have a lot of those out there yet. We have one in an ice arena on a college campus. So we are looking at what we can do to be at those smaller locations where we don't have to have the huge vent as well as, an outside access.
Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, are you seeing like any concerns in terms of when we were talking about expansion? And right now, interest rates are high. A lot of costs, construction costs are not going down.
Right.
I believe the average cost of opening a new just fast food restaurant is up 20% since the pandemic. Before the pandemic. I mean, is it just like really important to have that sort of flexibility built in? Because I mean, if you're going to grow,
Absolutely.
your franchisees have to make money.
Absolutely.
That's kind of important.
Right. That's why we're in the business, of course. We want our existing franchisees to be more successful. We want them to open additional locations. So if we can continue to focus on that build out cost and control as much as we can. Of course, there's some stuff that's just out of our control from a supply standpoint or the cost going up. But lowering that build out cost, having different alternatives or backups has been huge. Everything from floorings to light fixtures, really taking inventory of that and figuring out what makes the most sense that we can still uphold our brand standards, but do it at a lower cost to our franchisees.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, all right. So now, did you have any supply chain challenges during the pandemic where you couldn't get stuff in?
Knock on wood, we certainly had our challenges, and our operations team did an amazing job of managing that. We never ran out of key products, which of course is the donut mix. So there were times where maybe cups were hard to get, or boxes, or just one certain product. But for the most part, we were really able to work through that and be able to ensure that our shops had what they needed for the customers.
Mm-hmm. And how about how do you say how are operating conditions right now? Do you see things getting better? Or?
I think things are getting better, and we were just talking about that with a few other franchisors where staffing doesn't seem to be as much of a challenge for our franchisees, which is great. Supply chain seems to be a little bit better. I think the biggest challenge is right now is just what's happening from consumer spend. If people start going out a little less frequently or they're not spending as much, how that's going to impact our traffic, which we're just really now starting to get a little glimpse of. But luckily, I believe donuts are recession proof, and we learned that during COVID that donuts sprinkle happiness. So hopefully we'll continue to see that despite the challenges from an economic standpoint that we're seeing.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen that, I remember during, like the Great Recession, for instance, and I remember talking to a cookie franchisee, and I remember him telling me, I'd open 1 million of these if I could. And he just said, because he felt that it was recession proof, that people will treat themselves in a time of difficulty.
Absolutely.
And you think that could benefit you going forward?
I do. And we did see that during COVID, once people were out and about again, it was that whole concept of sprinkling happiness, where if someone hands you a box of warm donuts, it can't help but put a smile on your face. So, we're not a high cost product. So I think just being able to treat yourself, and we already do so well with holidays, special occasions, events, celebrations. So I think we'll continue to see that trend. We're just going to have to continue to focus on how to drive that everyday traffic to ensure our frequencies there throughout the year.
Mm-hmm. And now, what are kind of the ways that you see what do you see as your most effective traffic driving initiatives?
So we tend to not discount a lot. So we are putting out a few additional value offers. We did a promotion in January for the first time for National Rubber Ducky Day, because who else can celebrate Rubber Ducky Day but Duck Donuts, where we did a $12 dozen, which was the first time we've ever done a price point promotion like that. So we saw really great success for that. That lasted really an additional 2 weeks after the promotion for January, which is typically not a strong time for us. So just really taking a look at the calendar and determining where those value offers make sense. We've really amplified our loyalty program. So we have a loyalty rewards program, putting out additional offers to those customers as well. So just being really more intentional with how we're driving traffic. Of course, LTOs also play a role into that, which we really scaled back during COVID and supply chain issues over the last 2 years. We're really able to start getting back into that and ramping that up as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, how long have you had your loyalty program?
So, ironically, we launched our loyalty program in January of 2020. So that was great timing to launch our loyalty program and an app, another alternative for ordering. So a little over 3 years.
Mm-hmm. And that's going pretty well for you?
It is, yes. A lot of trial and error. I say the first year or two, just trying to figure out what kind of discounts will drive, getting people to sign up, remembering to use their loyalty program. So that's something that our team is really focused on, is how do we continue to drive that engagement, as well, of course, of getting additional users.
Mm-hmm. I mean, how is it? How do you see things at this point? Like, I mean, is it? Have you kind of found the right ingredients to get?
I don't think not yet, because right now, in terms of people purchasing donuts, it only makes up 3% of our sales, so that's incredibly low. But online ordering does really well for us. We see 25% of our sales coming in through online ordering. So just looking at how we can capitalize on the information that we know, obviously collecting customer data and being able to remarket to them is huge. So we certainly see a lot of upside for our loyalty program.
So, like, only 3% of your sales are for your loyalty members, but you got 25% online ordering.
Yes.
That would seem to be you should be able to get that. You should be able to get a lot of those people.
You would think, yeah. So we're focused on that, just from really like a CRM standpoint, is how we convert those people and make sure we're able to communicate to them on a regular basis.
How have you been able to get so many online orders? That seems.
I mean, I guess we can say there's a positive of COVID. That would be one. We definitely saw a spike in during COVID, and we've been able to maintain that, which I think is awesome. We talk about that experience, and while some people do want to come in and pick out their donuts and watch the entire process, some people just want to be able to run in and pick up their donuts and get out as quickly as possible. So I think ordering online, ordering ahead, that if you show up at 9:30 a.m., your a couple dozen donuts are going to be there and you're out the door. So I think it makes sense from that convenience standpoint, and that's something we'll continue to try to grow as we move forward.
Right. They just have to have a donut.
Yes.
I need a donut now.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes you need a donut. You need a donut.
I mean, coffee, milkshakes, breakfast sandwiches, we can throw them all in there. You can order them all ahead.
Yeah. I mean, it really, I mean, like any positives from COVID, but like it sort of forced the issue with the consumer. Like
right.
it was always and actually, frankly, restaurant chains, you
sure.
kind of realize, hey, we need to do this.
Absolutely.
And we need to get, we need an effective mobile ordering strategy. We need an effective loyalty strategy, and we need to get, and then the consumer realized, hey, these are fantastic.
Right.
And they really like it. And, I think it's been really good for that. And that's, I just think mobile ordering is just more efficient.
Agree. And it's easier on the teams as well. So they know what's coming in. They can throttle orders when necessary ahead of time. They know if big catering orders have been placed. So it just makes, from whether it's a staffing perspective or just an execution perspective, I believe it makes it easier for our shops as well.
Now talk a little bit about the catering business. How is that doing right now?
Catering is great. It's back. As I mentioned earlier, with focusing on holidays and special occasions and events, we also do a lot of office party sort of orders. So somebody may grab a few dozen donuts on their way to the office. So that's always been a big piece of our business, which of course saw a dip over the last 2 years, but that seems to be back. And whether it's just picking up 2 dozen donuts to go to the office, or you can get specialty icing colors to match your wedding, we see that the catering orders really have been back.
Yeah, that fell pretty much off a cliff during the pandemic.
Definitely. Everything from the social get-togethers and of course weddings to even just people taking them into the office.
Yeah. I always like catering is like, if you can do it,
right,
it's just like a really good business.
It is.
And if you can, but how do you balance catering orders, especially and I know that, like, your new prototype tries to, has actually a space for that.
Yes.
How do you balance, the labor force or the workforce, the work of doing catering orders with people coming in?
It really varies, because a lot of the catering orders, if they're over 5 or 6 dozen, they're probably a pre-order. We have one local corporate shop where they do a ton of fundraising and special events. So they were filling an order last week for 400 dozen donuts, which is crazy.
What?
So yes,
400
dozen donuts. So it was a fundraiser. So that they sell it to an organization that was a school for X amount, and then they upcharge $5, and they're able to make $5 off of each dozen donuts. So The operations team within the shops does an amazing job. They have it down to a science. I went over one time when they were doing one of these large orders just to see the organization behind it, and they have it down. They make it look so easy. I just stayed out of the way, but they were impressive with how they're able to organize that and execute it.
Wow. That's a
Yeah.
it's a lot of donuts.
It's a lot of donuts.
Right. Was Homer Simpson somewhere in there? Or something like that?
Possibly.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, I mean so all right, so where do you see Duck Donuts in the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years. So I mentioned we're opening 40 shops this year. We want to continue to grow that number, so about 50 or so the following year, and we just want to continue to accelerate growth. And the other piece of the growth piece of this is getting our existing franchisees more profitable. So how do we increase AUVs? What are we doing to drive sales? What are those promotions, whether it's loyalty or CRM, that are really going to grow the value of our brand? So that's where we're focused. I think we'll see more non-traditional. International has been good for us, so we'll continue to focus, hopefully one continent at a time from a supply chain standpoint. But our mission is to sprinkle happiness around the globe. So we're going to continue to focus on that.
Is there anything different you do from a franchising standpoint internationally than you do in the United States?
Yeah, so a lot of those are master franchise agreements. So Egypt and Saudi Arabia being examples of those being master franchises.
Yeah. I mean, I think like donuts work pretty much everywhere, right?
Yeah, everybody loves a donut. I mean, who knew? So I think the sweet treat, of course, coffee, especially in the Middle East, is really big, espresso drinks. So the sweet treat that they are not necessarily eating for breakfast, it's an after dinner, after dessert treat, as well as coffee. We're seeing a great response from the market. A little confusion that the donuts aren't made when you walk in, that they're not sitting there. That's what they're used to from other brands. So just from an education standpoint of educating, no, you get to customize your donut, or here's our suggestion of our assortments. But yeah, the response internationally has been really awesome.
No, and I like, because I want to get to the freshly made donut, because that really is very unique.
Yes.
I don't really think. I mean, obviously Krispy Kreme can do it,
Right.
But not always.
Right.
So I don't know if, I mean, maybe there's some small brands
just
out
some
there,
small
that,
regional.
some small
Yep.
regional or independent concepts that do that. But like, how do you? I mean, is there like a training process with franchisees, and is there also a training process with your customers?
Absolutely. Yeah, certainly a training process from the franchisee, because we want that donut to be consistent of, it's crispy on the outside, light and fluffy on the inside. It has to have that perfect circular shape, and there's actually a little star in the middle. So we want that to be the perfect donut every time. So making sure that our franchisees, as well as the team members, are trained on that from the beginning, but then ongoing. So, it's a not a tough process, but you have to be paying attention as you're watching the oil levels. Is there enough oil in the machine? Is everything set appropriately? So, sometimes you'll see a donut that something was off. So just ensuring that happens as limited as possible is really important.
Now, when do people get their donut? Like, is it an all day thing? Or do you
Yeah.
have stronger day parts?
From a day part standpoint, we're actually pretty evenly split from a morning, afternoon, and evening. So morning's a little bit higher from a percentage standpoint. It's about 32%, but it shockingly is evenly split. And a lot of that's driven by where the locations are. So of course, if they're near restaurants, dining, movie theaters, people are stopping at Duck Donuts in the evening for that afternoon or evening treat.
Right. Yeah, I'd imagine that. Like, it's. I mean, I think donuts are not just for breakfast.
Correct. You can eat them all day.
Yes,
Any hour of the day.
Right. Betsy, this was fantastic. Really appreciate you
Thank
joining me
you.
this week on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.